This tutorial is going to show you how to develop the programming for our Pick-a-Path adventure. We started the other day with making our own custom background and also creating our first sprite, which was a start button. And we put a little bit of programming onto that. So we're going to pick up from there and actually develop our path. If you click on your backdrops, and then go to the costumes. In order to follow along with this tutorial, you'll need some backdrops for exploring inside a room or outside. So make sure beside your own background, which you've named Start Screen, you also have Room 1. One of the bedrooms, I've picked Bedroom 2. You'll need bench with a view or some sort of outdoor scene of the park, and the playground, the pool background. And then we need some custom backgrounds as well. And you might need these when you develop your own Pick-a-Path. You might want some backgrounds that aren't available in Scratch. So I'm going to show you how to do that now, and we'll set that up to have all of our backgrounds ready. So if you go onto a web browser, if you go to Chrome, and open up a Google Images search, I'd like you to click onto the tools and then look at usage rights and make sure that you've selected labeled for non-commercial reuse. So from now on, whenever you're creating something for digital technologies and for any other subject, you shouldn't be just grabbing images off of Google Images because they might be copyrighted and you might not have actually the right to use them. So if you use their tools and you pick non-commercial reuse, meaning you're not going to sell this, it's just for education purposes, and then search for your image. So part of our Pick-a-Path adventure, the player has an opportunity to watch TV. So I thought I might put up an image, a background of Netflix. And all of these now are free to use. And I've picked the background, it should show up down here. Here we go. Netflix generic photo. You can pick another thing that has to do with watching TV. And make sure that you click on the larger one. If you just use the small thumbnail, and some of you do just a screenshot of the thumbnail and stretch it, it gets really pixelated and it isn't as high of quality. So you click on the bigger one and then right click or two-finger click on your Mac, save image as, and make sure you've gone into your Year 9 folder and give it a really good name that you'll remember for later, because that's going to be the name of your background. So I've named mine Netflix background, and it shows that it's a JPEG image that comes up by default. And then hit save. Mine's asking to replace because I've already have mine saved. The other thing that we need to do is we need to find an image of somebody jumping into a pool. So you should still have your usage rights on, labeled for non-commercial reuse. And maybe we'll say girl jumping into pool. You might want to use that image or one that's an outdoor pool, because we're going to be pretending like we're going to the St. Clair pool. You could even use that kicking, splashing into a pool, something that's appropriate. I'm going to I picked that one for jump in. Again, getting the bigger image, two-finger click, save image as, and I've saved that as girl jumping pool. So we've got those available. They have good file names that we'll be able to find later. And then we go back to our Pick-a-Path on Scratch, and we're still in our backdrops. You can, besides just adding a backdrop how you normally would, which just choosing a backdrop from scratch, and then we've learned how to paint a backdrop, well, you can also upload a backdrop. And it should be in your Year 9 folder if you've saved it properly, and you need to upload those backdrops and they'll come up for you. Oops. So use the upload backdrop, browse to your right folder, your Year 9 folder, and then you'll have those additional backdrops for when we need them later. I have a few now, so I'm just going to get rid of the extra ones because I previously had this ready. Again, remember, make sure that your backdrops are named appropriately, because when we program them, you need to know which backdrop you're switching to. So backdrop 1, backdrop 2, that's not very helpful. I'm actually going to get rid of my refrigerator one. I'm not using it in this pick a path. Okay, so now we'll go back to code, and make sure you're still clicked on your backdrop. So far you should have the code for the event when the backdrop when the green flag is clicked, or basically when we're starting our game, we want to switch to the correct backdrop, which was our start screen. So we can click that and test that it works. We also previously made a button, our start button, and remember, when the green flag is clicked, we want it to show. That's because when we click on it, it will hide, it will go away. So remember, when the green flag is clicked, it needs to show itself. But when the sprite is clicked, referring to the start button, then we want to switch it to our first room. So my first room is room 1. And then what are we doing in order? We're telling the start button to hide itself. So we can test that part out. It switches to room 1. The start button hides itself. So we know that part of the programming is correct. Now the next thing I'd like you to do, if you may already have another character, don't worry if you've got some programming, a little bit of programming on your other character. I'd like you to find this character called Avery. And the reason I want you to pick her is because she has some walking animation. If you don't want to use Avery, you need to find another character that does have some walking animation with it. If you hover over them, remember, you can find characters that have different animation. So there may be other characters that walk. Dan dances. I know some of the aliens, is it Giga? Yes, so you could use Giga if you want that to be your main character. Giga walks, and also Pico. So if you're just following along with me, upload Avery. And if we go into Avery's costumes, when you pick Avery, she just has Avery A and Avery B, so she can be talking or standing. But we also want her to have some costumes where she's able to walk. So if you add costumes here, we can grab those as we normally would, but you should now see when we go into the costumes and we go to Avery, that we've got Avery walking A, B, C, D. So you need to bring those costumes in, all of them. I'm going to get rid of that extra one. So click upload, bring in all of the costumes. And that way we can program it to use some of her various costumes so we can animate doing some walking. So that's all of our setup. make sure that you have that set up, and then we're going to go on to starting to code our actual adventure. Now when we start programming Avery, so make sure you're clicked on Avery. Don't worry that I have 2 versions of Avery at the moment. This version of Avery just has some of the extra code that I've already done. So I'm going to slowly move the code over from Avery 2 into the current Avery, but you just need 1 version of Avery. So we did something similar with our other programs that we've written. When the green flag is clicked, we just need to do our basic setup. So I'm going to set her size to 100%. That's because if we've done any other animations with her and any sizing, this will resize her to her original. I'm going to tell her to hide so that she isn't on the start screen, and I'm going to tell her to go to the starting position. Now remember, if you look down here, X and Y coordinates. So right now I've placed her and she's at X7, Y48. So when I bring out that go to, that's how I know where I want her to be located at the start. So I can click that out to test it. So when the green flag is clicked, she's not there. And then we have to have her react. I'm going to put that away so you have see some more of the code, to the event of the backdrop switching. So we brought out when the backdrop switches and when it switches to this room, which is room 1. And if you notice with your drop downs, that's why it's really important that they're named appropriately. We want to set her rotation style to left, right, and that is under the motion. We're going to have her do some animation with some walking, and if we don't set her rotation style to left and right, when she walks, she could turn herself upside down. So this way we make sure that she only can walk to the left and the right. Switch her costume to Avery A, which is the talking Avery costume, and then she'll show herself. We've done some, with our chatbot, some asking, so she'll ask the player's name, and then we use that joining so that when she replies, she seems like she's talking to you. So join hi with the person's answer, and then ask another question, do you want to explore my house? So we'll test all of that out. I can put that in big screen, and so we get our start screen, click the button to start. She's asking what is your name, put in my name, and she's replying to me, and then asking another question, do you want to explore my house? And this is what is going to start the path. So if you remember from our previous chatbots, when we want to have a decision tree, we need one of these if, then, else blocks in our control. So we're saying if something is true, or if the answer is yes in this example, do these things, else do the other things. So we start with our base decision block, if, then, else. And in our operators, remember we're checking if something is equal to something. So here we've got that special variable that we've learned about, answer. And we want to see if the answer is yes, then we need to make sure we're having her do some things exploring the house. So get that set up. And now we have to start this sequence of things to happen when it's true. So if it's yes, what do we want it to do? So in this case, we're going to have her switch her costume to Avery B and have her say, great, let's go to the lounge. So we'll stop this video here. You can test that out, and then we'll add to that part of the path.